If you ever receive a job offer on the deep web from Naked Necropolis, do not respond. Confession of name withheld. I should start by saying I wasn't a bad person before all this. I wasn't dangerous or cruel or even particularly reckless. I was just broke. A photographer with rent 2 months late, equipment I couldn't afford to maintain, and a talent nobody cared about until it was free. Maybe that's how evil gets in. Through the cracks you don't admit are there. A friend of mine, Evan, gave me the link. Said it was a gold mine for people desperate enough to work off-grid. The deep web has everything, he told me. If you're starving, you stop asking where the food came from. He wasn't wrong. The site looked like Craigslist's feral twin. Job postings with no verification, no rules, no sanity. Cargo runs, silent security work, surgical assistance without credentials. Nothing I planned to touch. Then I saw it. Full-time photographer. Immediate hire. Company. Naked Necropolis. Compensation. 14,000 week. Housing plus benefits. Travel. Prepaid. I laughed at the name. Not because I thought anything dark was hidden behind it. I just assumed it was one of those pretentious adult magazines with a stupid artsy brand. Something underground. Something edgy. Maybe even something illegal in the boring way. The way porn studios skirt paperwork. I told myself that's all it was. Something sleazy, sure. But nothing dangerous. And when you're drowning, you'll convince yourself the hand reaching toward you isn't holding a chain. I responded. Within minutes, I got an email so polished. It felt out of place in that digital gutter. We're impressed with your portfolio. We'd like to fly you out for an interview. A driver will be waiting. Back for relocation. Relocation. That should have been the first warning sign, burning bright enough to blind me. But when you've been sleeping on couches, eating whatever's cheap, fighting to keep your camera from breaking, you don't question generosity. You cling to it like it's the last rope on the cliff. So, I took the ticket. I took the ride. I took the chance. And Naked Necropolis took everything else. Falk, the owner, met me in a lobby nicer than any hotel I'd ever stepped into. He was warm, personable, attentive. He talked to me like my work mattered, like he wanted to invest in me. That's the kind of praise that gets into your bloodstream when you've been ignored long enough. He said they produced high-end private magazines. I didn't dig. I didn't want to dig. I needed to believe I'd finally found something that valued what I could do with a camera. They gave me an apartment stocked with food, a company car, a stipend, a check so large I touched it twice just to believe it was real. And I told myself I deserved it. I told myself this was my legitimate break. The sickness didn't show itself until my first day on set. They brought me 2 girls, young, pretty, nervous in the normal way new models get nervous. They thought they were interviewing for a magazine gig. We made small talk while I took their before shots. Nothing explicit, nothing shocking, just portraits, warm lighting, soft poses. They laughed. I laughed. It almost felt wholesome. I liked them. That's important. I want you to remember that. When I finished, the supervisor, Derek, told me to step out so they could prepare for the aftershots. I thought he meant wardrobe changes, makeup adjustments, maybe a shift in tone or pose style. Nothing warned me. Nothing hinted. Nothing broke the illusion. But when I stepped into the hallway, I heard a sound that didn't belong anywhere near photography. A muffled scream. Something falling. A sharp, guttural noise that curled my stomach. I moved toward the door, but Derek slipped out before I could open it. Wet sweat glistened on his forehead. His breathing was heavy, uneven. He smiled like a man stepping out of a sauna. "They're almost ready," he said. "Just a moment." Then he waved in 3 staff members. Blank-faced men with no conversation in them. They entered. The door closed. No one looked at me. When they finally called me back in, Derek placed a hand on my shoulder and whispered, "Remember, this is just art." That word still makes me nauseous. The girls were on the floor, both naked, both posed like centerfolds, both with their throats open from ear to ear. One still had tears drying on her cheeks. My camera felt like it weighed 50 pounds. My hands shook, my legs locked. I couldn't think. I couldn't breathe. But Derek didn't shout. He didn't need to. He leaned in and murmured, "Do your job." And I did. Not because I wanted to, because fear is a leash, and they had already vetted the collar. I took the photos. I took every shot they demanded, and something inside me cracked on the spot. That was day 1. When I got back to the apartment that night, I didn't turn on the lights. I sat in the dark with my camera bag on my lap, the way people hold pets during thunderstorms. I tried to convince myself I had misunderstood what happened, that the blood, the posing, the way their eyes stared half open, it couldn't be real. Shock is a kind of mercy. It lets you lie to yourself for a few hours. Eventually, I forced myself to pull out my phone. I tried dialing 911. The call didn't even ring. It disconnected the second I pressed call. I tried again. Same result. Then the phone vibrated with a message from a number I didn't recognize. Emergency calls disabled. Company policy. Sleep well. That was when I realized the company phone wasn't a perk. It was a cage. I checked the windows. Couldn't open them more than 6 inches. The car keys dangling by the door had a small metal emblem I hadn't noticed before. Naked Necropolis branding. They weren't giving me freedom. They were giving me transportation within their fence line. I barely slept. When I did, I woke up gasping, hearing the wet sound from the studio echo in my ears. I told myself I would quit the next morning. Walk out, run, hitchhike, do anything but stay. But when I stepped outside, Derek was leaning against the company car, sunglasses on, coffee in hand. "Ready for day 2? He asked. It wasn't a question. It was an instruction wrapped in a smile. Day 2 was worse, not because of the models. They were the same type of girls. Hopeful, nervous, young somebody's daughter, somebody's sister. But because now I knew, I couldn't pretend anymore. Every time I looked at them, I felt sick. Every joke they told felt like their last. Every shy smile looked like an obituary photo. But I didn't warn them. I didn't whisper to run. I didn't risk my life to save theirs. That's the part that stains me. I didn't save anyone. Not then. I photographed their before shots with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. I stepped out during the preparation with my heart pounding so loud I couldn't hear the muffled screams. I stared at the wall while Derek and the staff did what they did. And when he came out sweaty again, wiping his forehead, he nodded and said, "Almost ready." Later, when I walked back in, 2 more girls were posed like statues built to satisfy the sick. Eyes empty, throats carved clean. I took the photos. I always took the photos. I hated myself more each day. And every night, I'd sit in the dark apartment and tell myself the same lie. I'll escape tomorrow. But tomorrow kept coming, and naked Necropolis kept feeding the machine. It wasn't until week 3 that I learned the truth about the business. I overheard it while Derek was talking with Falk in his office. Their voices carried through the cracked door. Falk said, "Issue 79 sold out in 6 minutes. One collector paid $48,000 for a first edition reprint." Derek laughed. "Rich bastards can't get enough of them. They're already asking for more exclusive content." Exclusive content. I didn't need translation. Death had a market. A booming one. Men, wealthy men, powerful men, were paying the price of a luxury car for a single magazine, a single set, a single corpse. And I was the one who made the images worth buying. That realization ate something inside me. Whatever innocence I had left rotted in that hallway. These weren't random killings. They were orders. They were products. And I had become the artisan. The breaking point came with the Texas girl. Her name was Avery. She was 19. Dark hair, quick smile, kind eyes. You could tell life had taught her to stay alert, to watch people, to judge rooms fast. She carried herself like someone used to surviving. I found out later she kept a concealed firearm in her purse. Legal, licensed, traveled with her every time she posed for freelance gigs back home. She wasn't naive. She was prepared. When we finished her before shots, I could tell she sensed something was off. She asked me quietly, "Is this legit?" I wanted to tell her. I didn't. Fear is a parasite. It wraps around your tongue first. When Derek came to escort her to the prep room, Avery's hand went to her purse. Derek noticed. He smiled politely and said, "No personal items on set. Company policy." She hesitated, but she gave it to him. I saw the moment her protection left her hands, and I knew what was coming. But this time, something cracked the right way. Maybe it was the weeks of self-disgust. Maybe it was her eyes, sharp, terrified, aware. Maybe it was the fact that she had done everything right and was still walking into death. Whatever the reason, the second Derek stepped away, I stole her purse from the table, slipped the gun out, hid it under my shirt, then walked as calmly as I could toward the prep room. The screaming started before I got there. This time, I didn't freeze. What happened next wasn't heroic. It wasn't cinematic. It wasn't brave. It was sloppy, frantic survival. When I burst in, one of the staff turned toward me, shocked. Avery was fighting like hell, biting, clawing, kicking. There was blood already. Hers, theirs. I can't be sure. I fired the gun twice. The room exploded into chaos. Avery grabbed my arm and we ran. We didn't stop running. Not through the hallway. Not through the studio. Not even when alarms started screaming through the building like metal. We stole a car. We crashed through a gate. We didn't look back. Not once. 3 days later, I went to the police. I told them everything. I gave them names, locations, photos. They investigated, and Naked Necropolis was gone. Studio empty. Equipment cleared. Hard drives wiped. House stripped. Cars missing. Every trace dissolved like smoke in wind. The detective told me, whatever operation you stumbled into, they knew we were coming hours before we arrived. Of course they did. They have money. They have connections. They have customers. Thousands of them. I tried to rebuild my life after that. I tried to forget. I tried to forgive myself. Then 2 months ago, I got an email. No subject line, no sender, just this. Naked Necropolis has reinstated your position. Your absence was noted. This is your last chance to return. Do not ignore us again. I didn't respond. I won't respond. But some nights I dream about those girls, about the screams, about the wet sound behind the prep room door, and I hear Derek's voice behind me. Remember, this is just art.